Look, so I'm not an expert, in regular chinuch. I've been dealing the last 15 years with off the derech and crisis, and I'm very makbid. I don't go out of my field, and I'm not giving anything now that I'm going to say is a psak, and this has to be or that way. I just want to be ma'or from my perspective, a little bit of maybe this will be helpful. And as soon as you say anything, people say, "Oh, he's attacking the system." I love the system. I have Baruch Hashem a lot of atzlacha with the system, for me, for my kids. And I feel bad for rabbeim and teachers that the whole world changed in the last 20 years, where kids are suffering from a lot of chayla nefesh, and the rabbeim that used to, get paid very little, which is terrible, and then they go in and they used to just teach, and now not only the teaching, they have to be psychologists, psychiatrists, and I had other speeches about that. And the rabbeim that know me, they understand that I don't attack them, I love them, and I'm very appreciative to them, and I think they're stepping up to the plate. I think that the new wave of rabbeim, our mechanchim, are fantastic. And they're saving a lot of kids who have a lot of problems, emotional problems, and they're very, very careful. I just got a call from a mechanech in Tush. I got my number. They have a kid in the yeshiva that they feel they have to throw out, and they have good reason to feel that way. And he said, "I will never throw him out of yeshiva. I just have to know what to do." You're talking about a chassidish erlich yeshiva, and the kid is doing things that are so extreme, I couldn't even believe he's even thinking about how. And he's like, "I'm not being merachik this kid. It's a dysfunctional family, and I can't lose this kid, but, I have problems of the other kids in the door, real legitimate problems. And whatever they're going to do, it's going to be done with such ava and careful. Mechanchim are great. But I just want to, let's just talk about it. I just want to discuss it. It's really for the Me'atzis Gedolei Torah and the head of Torah Messiah and all of the rabbeim and the rebbis of their moistis, to feel it out. Okay, I hope this introduction, I'm wasting time, but it's a sensitive topic. I don't want chas v'shalom, don't say Avi said this, Avi said, if you set up something wrong, if the setup of something is wrong, there's a very big chance it won't be matzliach. If you have a warehouse and you're trying to manufacture something and it's not set up correctly, lechatchila not, you're going to have a problem. So, I have a dream, right? The dream is that there should be a yeshiva for Ruvains, a yeshiva for Shimons, for Levis, for Yehuda, for Yisachars, for Zavulon, for every single shevet, Tchunas HaNefesh should be a yeshiva. Let's just dream, let's fantasize. We can't always do it, but what would happen if we did it right? And every yeshiva would every kid would go into the yeshiva, and we'd understand at some point, and I guess the basis would be everyone the same, and then we'd realize this guy's very creative, and this guy's musical, and everyone's going to learn halacha and the basics, but there's going to be, Yisachar, there's going to be Iyun, or tremendous bekiyas, a Gemara cup, a Lamdin, future Gadol Adar, future Rosh Kohalim producing Rosh Hashivas, right? For every Rosh Hashiva, there's 200 kids in the yeshiva, so you don't need 200 Rosh Hashivas. You need one Rosh Hashiva, you need a Zavulon. And the Zavulon is going to learn how to be an Erlich Balabas. By the way, it's a lot, in my opinion, a lot harder to be an Erlich Zavulon than an Erlich Yisachar. I think we should take the top 10% of kids, of the most Erlich kids, tell them, you go out in the street and work. Maybe they'll be able to handle the Nisyonis of the street and the Chayshim Mishpat Shilas and to stay Erlich and all of that. But we take like the weakest guys, you go to work, and all anybody above whatever, you stay in Beis Medrash. It's much easier to stay in Beis Medrash than to be on the street, I think. Anyway, so the Zavulons will have a yeshiva to teach you. Because there's so much. You need to emunah, bitachon, how to be erlich, how to not steal, how to not and to pay to pay everybody on time. There's so many halachas. So that would be nice. But what's the problem with that? So let's understand, why don't we have that? So I think I'm not sure. I think you tell me what you think, right? Okay, everyone has an opinion on this. So I think here's the risk. You open a yeshiva for Zavulons. First of all, nobody's going to send. That's the problem, right? Nobody's going to send. But let's say everybody became erlich and honest and serious, and everybody said, okay, this kid, he's going to be a businessman. So we have 100 Zavulons going to yeshiva. So people are going to say, it could be in the 100 Zavulons, there's really 10 Yisachars. And that's a tremendous waste. That's like a little bit of the Nakuda over here, right? How can we go ahead and tell them all, you're going to go to school, and we're going to teach you in the best erlich way, but you're going to be made to be the ultimate balabas. Agav, one of the things I said that, in a yeshiva that most of the kids are going to be balabatim, you always grow up and you meet Rosh Kailim come to give shmuzin, and the pictures on the wall are all people that you, for those who don't end up like that, they're not your role models. They're your tzaddikim, but they're not your role models. I wish you would have erlicha balabatim who have good businesses and solid hashkafa that would come and also be role models. That if you're going to go ahead, because what happens is a guy becomes, he learns till he's 26, 27, 28, 29 years old, let's say, Rahman al-Islam, he gets a job, I shouldn't say the word, J-O-B, whatever, he does that thing, It's like, it's so fakrumt, because it used to be that the parents used to tell the son, you're going to marry my daughter, do you have a plan? How are you going to support her? Now, the guy comes in, he tells the father, he says, do you have a plan? How are you going to support me? It's like, and the guy's like, you should work. What kind of a person do you think I am? You think I'm going to actually support my family? Are you crazy? It's like somebody said that his kid came and he asked him, he said, I don't understand, Tati, I learned there's a Yisachar and a Zavulon. And Zavulon used to go to work and support Yisachar. Where was Yisachar's wife? Why couldn't she support Yisachar? You need Zavulon? Isn't that a wife's job? They think that the wife's job is to support Anaya Maisa. It's like this guy said that he wants to get rid of the Chayrim of Rabbeinu Gershom. He said, how can I live on one wife's salary? How could he says, today with the prices the way they are, I need at least 2 women working for me. Okay, all kidding aside. All kidding aside, right? So, I forgot what I was going to say. So, right. Fine, it's not a laughing matter. Not a laughing matter. Fine. So the guy's 29 or 30 or whatever it is, and he gets Rahman al-Islam, he gets that job thing, right? But what happens is, all those people that he wanted to be like them, he knows now I'm not like them. He doesn't have a role model. There should be Gedolim, Gedolei HaTorah, Gedolei HaChesed, Mayatzis Gedolei HaChesed, Mayatzis Gedolei HaSkonim. And they should sell in Eichler's pictures of people who are honest, if we could find them, right? Okay, but honest people, that the young people, when they start to work, they should have role models. They get thrown into this world, all of a sudden they're traveling with their briefcase, they're going to work, they're outside the Nisyonis, and where's all of the training that they have? It's very scary. All of a sudden, you need a nice watch, and then and there's women there, and it's a lot of nisyonis, and you start chasing money and going after it, and then maybe you have a chance to take something that's not yours, and nobody trained you for that. You were trained for Yavamis, you were trained for Baba Kama, for Meruba, right? You weren't trained in all the halacha and hashkafa, and then you come home and you need more practical. So really the nakuda, I think, of the problem is that people are going to say, but you're going to end up in the yeshiva for Zavulons, from some people who are really meant to be Yisachars are going to end up over there. Okay, that's one side. So therefore we should shut it down, and everybody should go to Yisacharville. Everybody should go to Yisacharville. The problem is, though, that what happens to the 90 or the 80% who are going to be balabatim? They're not getting the training for their life that they need. That's for sure, klar. So I think it's a little bit of a hashkafa thing that the Gedolim have to decide, right? That, are we training, do we say, okay, we're going to train everybody to be Yisachar, and then if you end up Zvulun, Nebuch, even though probably 80% are going to end up working, so we didn't train you for your life for the next 60 years. No. Well, hopefully, all of the iyun that you learned will be there for you. Okay? And the other tzad is that no, let's train the Raiv to be really a dar of erlicha guys, and it's a different and don't get it's a different derech halimud. Don't get confused. It's a totally different derech halimud in many different ways. You need more hashkafa if you're going to be a zavulon. You deal with nisyanis and munah more, but it's different. Well, it's not. I don't want to say more. It's different. It's different. If we knew, let's say, that we're going to really take it seriously, and we're going to have kids in our grip in the yeshiva system for 4 years of Masifta and 4 years of Beis Medrash, and then they're going to go work, right? So we have 8 years. What does a guy need to have to be kaina in those 8 years before he goes out on the street? What halacha, what hashkafa, what limud, what's going to do more for him? 4 blot a year? Or if he knows 1,000 blot? Gemara Rashi, Gemara Shitaisis, what? And he has a kinyan and he's learning daf yomi already. I mean, what would happen if we started that every day for an hour or for 2 or for 3, they did daf yomi in Mesifta and Mismedrash. I'm not coming up with new ideas. Don't yell at me, please. I'm just saying, what if we just started with a piece of paper that said, look, we have 100,000 kids. 80,000 of them are going to be the next generation's balabatim. What do we, without any pre-existing conditions, right? What do we really think is the right training for them? Do you think that by the time we finished, without any agendas, that it would look like what it looks like now? It feels like we're putting all the kids through a system that is perhaps the greatest way to create something that most of them are not going to be. Isn't that true? I don't have a solution, because as we all got firmer and firmer, what's happening is, in the 60s and the 70s, we produced a great dar. They produced this dar. And they things were very different then. They had yeshiva on Sunday till 2, till 4. They had night seder once a week. They learned like an hour Gemara a day. They did very well. A lot of the great starke balabatim that produced 12 kids learning in Klal, it was with that reka, with that backdrop of not this yeshivish life. And that's why some rebbes, they look at their chassidim, and they realize that, we have a problem, because at the end of the day, most people don't sit and learn, and most of the people are not being trained properly. And they think, what can we do to give them a kinyan in Torah? To give them a kinyan in Torah. A balabas, an erlich of balabas, should know halacha, should know hashkafa, needs hashkafa to live, to exist. You go out of Kaisley, Beis Medrash, Sham tehei kuraschem. It's terrible. It's really an assign. It's going to have tremendous assign. He's going to have a cell phone. Is he going to have the koyach to put the right filter on it or not? Who's going to know? It's like everyone becomes a Yosef in Mitzrayim. The Yisachars and Mismedrash also, but it's far different. Right? I think every balabas should understand the importance of davening with minyan, should understand the importance of Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum, Chumash, Rashi. It's a different program. So what happens is, when we do things that don't make sense in a very extreme way, there's a fallout. I'm not talking about the percentage, let's say 5 or 10%, that Rahman al-Islam go off the derech, that had trauma and abuse, and there's plenty of that. I'm talking about from 20 to 60. Maybe even till 80, but let's say the top 20, 30, 40%, it's perfect. It's not the pshat that I want to change the system. I think we're putting the wrong kid. I think we created one system. And I'm a part of it. We're all a part of it. And we wouldn't send our kids to a new system. No. But we have to become a bit realistic, no? Here's the rule. Not every kid likes to learn. Not every kid was meant to like to learn. Not every kid was created meant to like to learn. And the downside of putting Hamayin Am into a system that celebrates this is that when they leave and they're not that, and they never really felt like that, they don't feel successful. They don't feel good about themselves. I learned in Baruch Hashem in a very good yeshiva, and me and my chevra were not, and when we left, we kind of felt like, the Sudas prayer that was like, okay, we hate to see you go, like, okay, bye, and we felt like losers. And we're not that bad that we should feel like losers. And what happens to people who are more shvach and they feel like losers? How does that work? You leave 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 yeshiva, Mesifta years and Beis Medrash years, and you don't feel like this system was for me. You don't feel like my yeshiva, not really proud of me. I didn't turn out the way he wanted. He wanted a long-term Klal guy who will never, work for the rest of his life. And I've been in yeshivas and I've heard shmuzin that are against working and against balabatim and against daf yomi and against Mishnah Berurah and against it because, you have to be this. Not everybody can do that. It's like really, you know what it's like? Imagine a Goyish community that has 100,000 kids and they make them all be on a track to become lawyers. 80% of the kids are not meant to be lawyers, or 90%. To be a lawyer, you have to read thousands of pages and memorize it. It's not for everybody. 100,000 kids, we're going to train you all to be doctors, all to be plumbers, all to be accountants. It doesn't work. People have different skill sets. Some people have trouble reading. I don't like reading. To learn, how hard it is to learn? People don't understand why we have to pay Koilingolite so much. You know how hard it is, 3 hours of learning and thinking and breaking your head on a Toisus, on Rishonim and Achronim to really understand a sugya. It's not for everybody. It's not for a lot of people. And when we show that that's the only, like that's the lechatchila and everybody else is b'diavad, then guess what happens? They feel like b'diavids. They feel like b'diavad. So now we have a huge hamoin am, like majority maybe of Klal Yisrael, feeling after the system that they went through that we are not lechatchila. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. And why are they not? By the way, the kids who go through the system today is so much better than it ever was. Even the b'diavids are better than the lechatchilas from 50 years ago. They have great education, great rabbeim, they learn, they know, they're good. But they feel like, this is not for me. And there's no alternative, And that's part of what happened. We have to look at the world. In the 60s and the 70s, there were blue hats, there were white hats, there were straw hats. Now everybody has black hats. Everyone in that community that used to have blue, and there were different ways, creative. There was a feather. No feathers anymore. No feathers. I think that's the problem. We got rid of the feathers. There was a certain amount of flexibility. Every family that used to eat chalav stam, that raised good children, those children are makabel on themselves only chalav Yisrael, gevaldik. The problem is they each have, let's say, 10 kids. Not all of those kids are holding by that. But if they're going to go back to chalav stam, the shkotzim, eating treif. Because every step you take to the right, you look back at the left as Imam Shabam. But yet, every one person who goes to the right is raising a whole bunch of kids. And it's a secret, I got to tell you. I don't care how chashiv you are and how wonderful you are, how much you love Torah. You have 10 kids, they're not all going to like Torah so much. They're not going to be so passionate about learning. Some of them will, and the rest of them are going to feel, I'm not my tati's nachas. In 1960, they all would have been lechatchila huge nachas. In the 1970s and 1980s, it would have been huge nachas the way they are now. There's a chup, he has tight pants, he's listening to Gaisha music a little bit. In the 60s and the 70s, okay, do we have to go back there? And we raised a nice dar. But of course, we can't just say, okay, go do that. It's not going to work, especially because part of the problem is that the outside changed. The world went nuts. You can't listen to Gaisha music now. It's a TV. It's not like they went so extreme. We had to go so extreme. But we went extreme with learning and not with maybe extracurricular activities in the yeshiva, gym, and stuff like that. But when you go and you tell somebody this, they think that you're making psharis, like you're weak, you're liberal. No, Torah. But the problem is when you have 10 kids, some kids are going to love to learn. The one who doesn't, by the way, because they were created not to, Hashem didn't, we're going to be telling them, no, you have to build yourself, you have to squeeze into that mold. And you have a problem, Rabbi, so we have a problem. Because we have a large percentage of guys stuck in that world who don't feel good about themselves, and they're being paid to sit and learn, and they're not really learning. They're just, and here's the sad part. An 18, 19-year-old man, a boy, he's a man. You used to be, you were working full-time, plowing the fields. You were a gavra. A lot of these kids these ages are babies because they don't like pressure, right? I'm talking about the ones in the system. Frum, Erlich, but not the top 10 or 20%. Masmidim that mamish love learning, they can learn forever. And I'm not talking superhumans. I'm talking about regular human beings. The white shirt, the tzitzis going down, the bushy payas, everything's going great for them. But they're mamish like, and I look at them, some of them, and you decide, I don't want to talk percentages, you know who they are. You know your kids, they're wasting their life. They're not getting up at 7 o'clock and going and learning an hour and going to daven for an hour and then working, halavai, let's say in an all-male B&H photo, just men, but working and schvitzing and earning a living and being serious and then coming home and then going to Mincha Marev and then getting a shear and then going for they're not living. They're chilling. They're chilling. And you think that's not part of the shidduch crisis? You chill for 18, 19, 20 with your jacket on top and you're smoking or whatever and you're having 16 coffees and they're learning also. But they're so low functioning, some of them, you tell me what percentage. Some of them, so low functioning human beings. Because they don't really have pressure. And so people look at it and they say, no, but at least they're in the Beis Medrash. At least they're in the Beis Medrash. I'm not paskening. Don't suck me into this and say, oh, Avi, you said against. I'm not against. We're schmoozing around. We're schmoozing around the Indian. They're so low functioning, no? It's like, they marry when they're 23 years old after 4 years of this, right? After Masifta, 4 or 5 years, and going to Eretz Yisrael, right? In Eretz Yisrael, what the biggest problem they have, these Bachrim? Not everybody, some, a lot, but the sum is a lot. Klal Yisrael grew, okay? So it's a lot. The biggest daiga that they have, tonight, what do you think, schnitzel or shawarma? Like that's the biggest daiga, because everything else, and we pay and we give them the credit card. Nobody's schvitzing and taka. Some of them are learning very well, but it's like 3 hours in the afternoon, and I'm as guilty as anybody, because not everybody's meant to learn from 7 a.m. till 12 p.m. And a regular person, so you do as much as you can. It's taka gavaldig. It's like being Gan Eden, but then they want to do shidduchim with these girls who are high functioning girls. And they know nach, and they know halacha, and they're going to hashkafa classes, and then they're getting up at 7 a.m. and they're working 8 hours a day, and they have to date at night and whatever. They're just high functioning. They handle pressure. How many kids in shidduchim say, I just want one thing, no pressure. I'm not going to support my family. I'm going to go learn when I can, and I want no pressure. So it's a problem, because it's what do you want from them? We put them in a system. They're creative, or they're musical, or they're chesed people. They could have been great askanim and have great care and concern for Achenu b'nei Yisrael, but we didn't teach them that that's an ideal. That's like, if you stick a loaf to derech, so you could become an askin. If you don't make it in the system, So instead of there being 12 shvatim, or even 2 shvatim, it's like 1 shevet and 1 handicap entrance for you, because you can't. So a lot of the Rebbes, let's say, you see the difference between the Litvische world and the Chassidische world, is that the Litvische world, so somebody opens up, a Rosh Yeshiva opens up in a yeshiva. He doesn't know who these kids are. Let's say they come in when they're 18. He's not responsible for them. He takes from the 80, 90, 100 kids who want to come, he takes the 10 best, he works with them. He doesn't know them before, he doesn't have to care about the ones he doesn't accept. It's not his problem. We open the yeshiva, nothing wrong with that. A Rebbe has children, and from when they're born until they die, they're my Hasidim. They daven in the Beis Medrash together. They go through his system, and if he sees that they're not as good as they could be, his Hasidus is very schwach. Another interesting thing is, like when my kids grew up, I never knew personally any of their Rebbeim. They came from Williamsburg, they came from Lakewood, right? They weren't a part of it. But let's say you're in Bobov, then your kids' teachers are Bobov that you probably went to school with them, or you know their parents, or you know their brothers and sisters. You're davening together so you see them a lot. So they have to answer to you. They can't just throw your kid out of class. It'll be like, these are your friends' kids and your uncle's kids, your brother-in-law's kids. It's like a shtickle mishpacha situation. So I think by the Chassidische Welt, they look at the product at the end of the line. It's one line, and you're stuck with the product. 100% of the Chassidim, you have to deal with them. And I think a lot of Rebbes, they see, we have Shalom Bayis problems here, we have Chinuch problems here, we have Shvach Emunah, and they can instill programs. In the Litvische Welt, it's different. You send your kid, let's say, to a yeshiva, and then once they leave the yeshiva, you're not, they might not see you or your kid for 8 years. They're not responsible for your kid once your kid graduates. And the next yeshiva, if they don't take your kid, they don't know you. And if they take your kid, they're taking the kids that they can work with. And if he leaves, he leaves. There's no like a chrayas over the whole tzibur. But of course, the Gedolim have their eye, I'm sure, on the whole system. We have to manufacture 100,000 Jews who are going through our system, the ones who stay in our system, were not knocked out due to trauma or abuse or whatever. We have to have the best Klal Yisrael. And that's a problem. Look at Reb Shamshel Fol Hirsch, who really prophesies this. I'm not going to go into it now. But are we really doing, are we trying to do it? Do we really have an Eitzah for a nice kid who in the 60s, 70s, 80s would have just been frum and ehrlich and would have married and gone to work and had probably most of his kids end up in Klal? Do we still have that sviva where he feels like, I'm good, me and my buddies, we go to college at night? That's the way it used to be, right? They were good. There was no condemning coming down. The right was so excited if somebody came to them to learn in Klal. It was never looked down if you didn't. They were trying to build themselves up, and they did so well. The Klal movement did so well. If they would have known 60 years ago that 10% of married guys would stay in Klal for 2 years, they would have been thrilled. 20% would stay for 5 years. Unbelievable. 40%, it's like now, it's like you're going on shidduchim dates, right? So if the guy, if he's from, I plan on learning, whatever, 15 years. 15, the biggest gedolim when they went to Klal was 1 year. Most of us people, 1 year, 2 years was for the biggest masmidim, except for the yichidim. But the hamayna, now it's like, I'm going to learn, probably learn. You know what? Learn how hard it is to learn, to raise a family. I'll learn probably, 10, 15, 20 years, probably, if it goes well, And then if a guy's a little schwach, I'll learn 8 years. 8 years, If he's a shtickle, off the derech, shtickle not retarded, okay, I'm going to learn 4 years, It's just things went too extreme. I'm not that old. It was 30 years ago. Wow, I am old. 30 years ago, I graduated from Philadelphia Yeshiva. It was a good yeshiva, good school. Okay, now I'm not exactly their prize Talmud. That's, not their fault. But most of my chevra, we knew the 5 guys they're going to be learning forever. Okay, we knew them. I was not part of, not my friends. Okay, but we knew who they were, and they knew who I wasn't, right? But most of my chevra, we planned on going to Yisrael for a year or 2. And now guys who are much schwacher than we were, it's like, you can't even say that. What, a year or 2? You're off the derech? Like, for sure 5 years. And everything is just too extreme. And the problem with being too extreme, as much as it has milas, okay, is you can't sell it to the hamoinam. The next generation, they don't feel good about themselves. They don't feel like they have a plan to look forward to, that this is what I want for myself. This is where I see myself fitting in, and it's because we didn't really build it for them. Not just we didn't build a system for the lowest 20%, schwachest 20%, weakest 20%. No, we didn't build a system for really probably 80%. So we have probably 10, 20% doing amazing. We probably have 10, 20% holding on, which still not the way it was supposed to be, but it's a problem. Please don't repeat this to anybody. Let's keep this between us. Just think about the concepts. What can we do about it? How are we going to build the Klal Yisrael that's very strong without doing it from a point of weakness? How is it really going to work? I don't think having an Aleph, Beis, and Gimel Shir is the way to go. I think if I grew up my whole life being the Gimel guy, basically, we're saying you're the third lowest. There should be Aleph, Aleph, Aleph. There should be an Aleph, which is Iyun, Aleph, Pekiyas and Halacha and Hashkafa, and Aleph, basketball, hockey, and Halacha and Hashkafa. There has to be like different Alephs, but we made one Aleph, and some kids are blessed with that head. Wow, I'm so jealous of them. They could sit and learn. I remember in yeshiva, a guy would go ahead, we were learning Be'in, so 3 hours, second Seder. And a guy would go ahead and he would have Shaila, put his head down. It's like 2.5 hours, right? Down. 2.5 hours later, he goes, oh, that's shot. I'm like, you kidding? I tried doing that, by the way. I woke up 2.5 hours later. I drooled all over my Gemara. I said, well, I forgot the kasha. See, not everybody can concentrate for 2.5 hours. Not everybody could be a lawyer and remember laws and cases and stuff. Some people are going to be plumbers. But let them be a great plumber, feel really good about themselves. And the same thing with Yiddishkeit. The masmidim have to be masmidim. And if you have a zvulun, the Yisachar will rise to the top. I don't think we'll lose the Yisachars. Plenty of tzaddikim worked also. They're going to want to, they'll go to the next year, they'll go to the Yisachar class. Their shiva will keep an eye. And we'll go over to them and say, Chaim, come here. You belong in the other class. Okay, but now it's like he went to everybody. You all belong in the other. How do you all belong in the Masmidim class? How do you have a Masmidim program for everybody? It's like in camp when I grew up, there was no Masmidim program. No Masmidim. We were just fine. And then it became a Masmidim program. Okay, 2 kids in every bunk, and the Masmidim people were so happy in Masmidimville. Wow, we got 2 guys. Incredible, Gewaldig. Now it's like everybody. This is like Yeshivas Masmidim, Camp Masmidim program. It's like, you don't want to be a Masmid a whole day where you want to play baseball? Okay, so you're in the Gimel Masmidim program in camp. You're in the Chaf, program, and you grow up like that. So instead of building them, they're broken lechatchila because we're trying to stick them into a system. I'm not anti-system. We just have to come to a realization that we need different systems. The system we have is perfect for some kids, But what about the kids that are never, ever going to be able to be comfortable in that system? It doesn't bring out their potential. It's not tailor-made to them. So when Klal Yisrael was small, and everybody was wanted, and every yeshiva said, I have 2 empty seats, who am I going to fill it up with? Oh, a guy, all of a sudden, he's coming down with his kid. Oh, please come, please come. Oh, it's great. And each kid we needed was different. Now it's like, we have 3 open seats. We have 30 siblings. So 27 siblings are not coming. I'm certainly not entertaining anybody else, except maybe the Gadol Adar's grandson or the richest guy in the, we got it, we have to build. There's nothing wrong with that. They need money. So nobody's wanted. It's like, listen, you have what? Oh, you're not, okay. I think around the corner, I think there's another school, PS, whatever. And, go over there. Why would anybody want to have less shvacha kids in their classroom? Why should they? Why should they take poor kids and have a struggle filling up their payroll to pay the rebbeim when they could take a rich kid? What are they, malachim? Which person in business tries to lose money? Why shouldn't they take the rich family? And why shouldn't they take the masmidim? And life is better. Then you'll have a problem anyway. But there's a problem. The problem is it's our family. And where are our kids supposed to go? Where are our kids supposed to go? The Hamaynam. And you're fooling yourself if you have 10 kids and you're right-wing, yeshivish, and you think all your kids are going to like it, so 1 or 2 are going to be it, 1 or 2 are going to act it, 1 or 2 are going to shtelzu, and 1 or 2 are going to quiet, and 1 or 2 are going to whatever. It's a problem. When you expect kids to sit so long, some of them have ADHD. I don't know if you would have a lot of these ADHD kids growing up in 1960. I don't think they'll have ADHD. I don't think so. There was much more running around outside and recess and it was stuff. And now it's like just sit. I couldn't do it. I can't go now to a shiur. I can't. I have ADHD. So I'm going to have to take pills in order to sit. Maybe don't give me the shiur, don't give me the pill. Give me something that I can do. I can do stuff. I just can't do sitting and concentrating. Not my thing. But so I should be cut down. My self-esteem should be broken. I should feel like I'm a nothing and a nobody and not be what I could have been. So now we have a problem. We have to look at it. We have 100,000 kids. It's more, by the way. A lot of kids, right? It's time to build systems that work for every kind of kid. There should even be a yeshiva for all of the very from first, second, and third graders. They're not bums yet. They don't go off the derech, who have ADHD. And maybe somebody can develop something. Can you imagine if somebody could develop a system where they jump while they learn, where they have extra energy and speak to the experts without giving them pills? Let them do choo-choo train and do the aleph beis instead of just sit like this. Oh, he moved. Make a yeshiva's ADHD. Aleph, Dalid, Hey, Dalid. Adhd. Okay? Yeshiva's Adhd. Adhd yeshivas. The kids are going to feel good about themselves. They're going to get a nice schwitz. And maybe every kid needs to have a little treadmill. They make them for dogs, treadmill for dogs. They're very small. Maybe have them for your 20 kids in the thing, and they're on the treadmill while they learn chumash, lech, lecha. Okay. They have extra energy. Why is that bad? You know why they have extra energy? Until 100 years ago, it took a lot of energy to be a kid. You had to help out around the house. You had to peel the potatoes. Doing a wash took 3 hours. These were the most energetic kids, and they burnt a lot of energy. And then they learned a little bit when they learned, and then they helped out at home, getting to school. They didn't go on a school bus. They had to walk there, and they had to run there. And there was a lot of energy. Now it's like basically, no energy being wasted. And the kids who have healthy energy, like most of the great stuff happening in Klal Yisrael, are guys with ADHD. Why are you looking at me like that? I'm paranoid also. Not only do I have ADHD, I'm also paranoid. No, I'm not paranoid, right? A lot of people doing stuff because of power and passion and koiches that just doesn't stop. ADHD is a milo. Anybody here work? Yeah? You have a job? You have an employee? Which guy do you like? The masman in yeshiva? He's sitting on accounting books like for 6.5 hours, probably get the right answer, but it'll take a long time. Or the guy who has ADHD, run the warehouse. You look at these Hasidic guys. These guys are great. I don't know what's with Hasidim and ADHD. It's unbelievable. And they're trucks, and they're going, and they're mefaf, and megait, and these regular guys. Machaya, They're creating a system where there's things to do. It's harder for us. I think I gave you enough to think about for one day. Yeshiva's Adhd. That's what we need to do. And we need to take the kids and tell them, no pills. Nobody go on pills. Burn the energy. More recess. Learn during recess. I don't know, something has to happen. That's a different idea. But the main idea is, why can't we be honest with ourselves? And I know nobody's going to show up. If I open up Yeshiva Zvulun, we will make your child into an Erlich Balabas. He'll know halacha, hashkafa. He'll know how to be a good boss, how to be a good employee, how to be honest. He'll understand how to clock in and clock out and save and everything. Nobody will show up. Everybody's kid, he has to be the next Rosh Hashiva. How could you might lose a Rosh Hashiva. I hear it's a big problem, but now you might lose Klal Yisrael. Won't the Rosh Hashivas emerge from Yeshiva Zavulon and be chosen and be picked up? Won't they? Won't they? And what's so bad if a guy, after 8 years, and he knows Shas, he'll know more. He'll know Shas by heart. He'll know 900 blat. They can do it. Kids can learn. But not everybody can learn Iyun. So we need to be well-rounded, and we need to have different skills. Or maybe we should have the same system, but second Seder, we'll have a choice of 4 different choices. There are 3 hours of Iyun, or an hour of Bekiyas, and 2 hours of Iyun, 2 hours of Bekiyas, and 1 hour of Iyun, and different ways. Ashkafa, halacha. Let's take it seriously. You go to the university, and there's tracks. You choose what are you majoring in, what are you minoring in this semester and that semester. You have to take a little this and a little this, but then your major. Not everybody takes the same thing. What would be so bad if we trust kids and we gave them choices and they were able to decide what they enjoy more? What would be so terrible? Something to think about.